lighter note, James Harden is a member of the 76ers, and that's fun. We got some bad news. Now, James Harden is going to be addressing the media at noon today. Ben Simmons, 11:30. James Harden at noon. So that's nice. But yesterday at practice, James Harden was out there shooting around with the Sixers. And one of the best things I saw was Tyrese Maxey right there in James Harden's hip pocket. Both of them shooting around, shooting threes, being next to each other, Tyrese Maxey learning. Because, look, I don't know how long James Harden's going to be here in Philadelphia. The rest of this year, all of next year, sign a 3-year, 5-year deal, whatever it is after this year, whatever it might be. But the long-lasting impression that James Harden can make is going to be within Tyrese Maxey. Point guard to point guard, at least right now. Veteran with second-year player. That, to me, is going to be the lasting impression for this Sixers franchise of not just what you can physically get out of James Harden, but what kind of impression he can make on a young guy like Tyrese Maxey, who's going to be here, I hope, for a decade. So for me, I think that's a huge thing. Now, Doc Rivers, and in this, you'll see some of the B-roll from NBC Sports Philadelphia of James Harden shooting around. But Doc Rivers was asked about James Harden's first day with the new team.
Just stand next to him and hope he did everything, you know. We didn't do anything live, but we did all the skeleton work, all the, defensive walkthrough stuff, all the shooting. We did everything everybody else did. It was just, obviously he's a high IQ basketball player, so a lot of the things we do is stuff he does anyway, and some of the other things we just threw him out there and had him do it and kind of figured it out. So it was good.
And that's great. He's out there shooting around, having himself a good time, getting to know his teammates. Doc, after that, went on to say that James Harden is a guy that's pretty easy to incorporate into your offense. And that's what I've been trying to tell people about. As I know a lot of people are like upset that Seth Curry is no longer here in Philadelphia. He had a great game last night, 23 points, I think it was, for the Nets. Good for him. Happy for him. But the offense is not going to be a problem here in Philadelphia. You have a guy that could, in this offense, I think, average 25 points per game in James Harden. You have a guy averaging 30 points per game plus in Joel Embiid, who leads the NBA in scoring. That offense is not going to be a problem here. Sharing the ball, I don't think, is going to be a big problem here in Philadelphia. The fact that you have James Harden averaging around 8-9 assists a game, also 8-9 rebounds a game, by the way, mixed with Joel Embiid, who's now averaging around 6-7 assists per game over the last month at least. So for me, I don't think offense is going to be a big problem here. You also have Tyrese Maxey who can score the ball for you. So for me, offense is not going to be the problem. Defense, okay, we're going to need a little help on defense probably. Rebounding, probably still going to need a little help on rebounding as well. But for me, offense won't be the problem. Andre Drummond is what has me a little bit more upset than Seth Curry. I mean, who's the better basketball player, Seth Curry or Andre Drummond? Seth Curry. Who do the Sixers need a little bit more? Right now, would it be more of a Seth Curry or would it be more of an Andre Drummond? Without question, it'd be Andre Drummond. So for me, offense isn't the worry. And Doc Rivers said, as this goes on, James Harden is not going to be a problem fitting in offensively. But he also said what they will install probably later this week is end-of-game packages because it comes down to who gets the final shot. And I had this conversation with some friends of mine last week, Thursday. We were on a Zoom call for this project I'm working on. And for me, I find it very interesting when people say, oh, well, Joel Embiid's a center, so he can't be your closer. Really? Interesting. First off, don't be so broad and just put Joel Embiid in the mix of every other center in the NBA, because I'll say this. Yeah, you're right in that usually 98% of the time, centers can't be your closers. But if you could shoot a step-back jump shot, if you could shoot a fadeaway, if you could shoot a step-back three-pointer, if you could go to the line and hit free throws, then I think you can be a closer. Oh, but he's a center. Oh, then he can't do any of that. No, but Joel Embiid can. Guys like Joel Embiid, and I know, I'm sorry, Nikola Jokic, for instance, guys like that, they can be closers because their game isn't like every other center in the NBA. Their game is very special, but Joel Embiid particularly, because Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, whoever it might be, Matisse Thybulle, can look at Joel Embiid and go, who does he want to be tonight? Does he want to be Dirk Nowitzki? Does he want to be Shaq? Which one of those players does he want to be? Does he want to be Jordan? Who does he want to be in terms of style of play? Because Joel Embiid can do all of it. He can run the whole gambit. And why is that? Because he worked his ass off to make sure he had every shot in his arsenal available when the team needed him. So he can shoot those step-back jumpers, those step-back threes. He can hit jump shots for you. He can hit a fadeaway. He can be the closer for you. But now you have James Harden on this team. So who gets the last shot? That, to me, will be the sticking point between these two players as the season goes on. Who gets the call? Who gets the final shot? If it's me, it still goes to Joel Embiid. And that is if it's in the 10 seconds left on the clock and he has time to work. If it's the last second of a game and it's an inbounds play, whatever it might be, I need James Harden, top of the key, open for that shot. It's similar to the way they broke it down a year ago when it came to, is it going to be Tobias Harris? Is it going to be Joel Embiid? Who's going to get that final shot? Well, if you have some time on the clock for Joel Embiid to work his magic, because he does need time, then it goes to Joel Embiid. If it's an absolute last second shot, it goes to James Harden. And I think that's the way Doc Rivers will try to figure it out. Now,